Reality TV is supposed to be something we watch when we want to escape our own lives. We love seeing other people fall in love while drama ensues. But what if that drama infiltrates real life? Today, we are going to explore the fake pregnancy drama that has rattled the Bachelor fans for months now and try to answer the question: what would compel a woman to fake a pregnancy multiple times over multiple relationships? It's time to take a deep breath and let the fresh air in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if you're brand new to my channel. My name is Erin, and I am fascinated by all things cults, true crime, unique spiritual practices, and overall human behavior. I post a couple videos a week on one of these topics, so if you like this kind of thing, please consider subscribing. I would absolutely love to have you here. So today's video is very interesting in my opinion, and it's a little different than what we normally cover, but I've been utterly fascinated by this case since September of last year when things started to come to the surface. And I'll admit here that reality TV is a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. I mean, when I'm covering murder and cults and manipulation, I just need an escape. So sometimes I turn to something like The Bachelor to just kind of relax at night. And this particular situation is really fascinating to me because it triggers a lot of questions, and I want to get these questions answered. And now, this is a story that could very well come to a conclusion very soon, but I do want to offer a disclaimer because it's very much an active case with multiple lawsuits among multiple people. So I just want to make it very clear that this video has a lot of speculation and my own opinion based off of what we currently know. I'm going to do my best to try to stay neutral, but my opinion always comes through. I'm going to try to only share the facts and see things from both sides. And I do have my own opinions, and those are going to be shared, maybe whether I want them to be or not. Sometimes it just pops out. I'm not placing blame on any one person involved in this scenario. I'm simply trying to share the story here so people can come to their own conclusions about what is going on. My research has involved court documents, articles, YouTube videos, including Dave Neal's plethora of videos, and Nick Vile's recent podcast, which was shot a couple of weeks ago, so it's not fully up to date. I really wish Nick had done a little update at the end of the episode, but I'll also go into what Dave Neal has shared and what other court filings have shared regarding the current updates on this case. But Clayton was interviewed by Nick Vile on his podcast yesterday on Thursday, so some of the details mentioned in this video do come directly from that interview. Now, I would normally do a deep dive on every main player here, but the woman involved in this story is handing out lawsuits like candy, and so for that reason, I'm going to be referring to her as Jane Doe. I'm also certain, or I'm speculating, that she probably has a Google alert going on about anytime someone posts about Clayton Echard, but I'm just gonna see if this video can fly under her radar. But I will tell you this: if you do want all of the details, please go check out this playlist by Dave Neal. He's been creating it for months. He's probably been the one doing the most research, and he himself is getting sued by this woman. And make sure you check out that interview on Vile Files. And I think Reality Steve has done a lot of coverage on this. And I would offer you an interview from Jane Doe, but she has yet to do one. And I would share her articles, but she seems to attack anyone who potentially shares her identity. So for my own protection, I'm going to refrain from doing so. But the link to her anonymously reported article that shares her side of the story will be down in the pinned comments down below. And if you do a Google search, honestly, it's kind of hard to not find out her name. But for my own protection, I'm avoiding sharing any identifying information about her. So, with all of that being said, let's jump right into today's video. Back in September of 2023, an article came out in The Sun where an anonymous woman, aka Jane Doe, claimed to be pregnant with Clayton's twins. Now, if you're not familiar with this person, Clayton was a lead on a popular dating reality show called The Bachelor. Now, on the show, The Bachelor dates a ton of women and eliminates some each week until he is down to a finalist who he usually proposes to. Well, when it got down to the final three of Clayton's season, one of the women self eliminated after discovering that Clayton had told the other two finalists that he loved them and he'd also been intimate with both the other two finalists. Then Clayton admitted to those two women that he was intimate with both of them, and he also told them both that he loved them. And then, to just twist the dagger even more, he shared that he was actually going to leave the two of them to go find and run after the woman who had self eliminated because he realized that he actually was the most in love with her. Needless to say, it was a whirlwind. And needless to say, the audience kind of went after Clayton. Then, after that debacle, a woman took to TikTok to claim that Clayton had cheated on his now fiance with her, this strange woman on TikTok. And that was eventually debunked to Clayton's credit. So, all of this background is basically just to share that Clayton was definitely not a fan favorite. His life has been rife with drama and scandal, and he admitted that it took a lot on his mental health, but he also did take some accountability for his actions on the reality show and seemingly began to move on from it. He ended up breaking up with the fiance he gained on the show. He got his real estate license in Arizona, where he lives, and became a mental health speaker. Although he's still considered a reality star, it seemed like he was trying to take steps to move on from everything, maybe get out of the limelight a little bit. However, with a history like that, when a woman claimed to be pregnant with his twins, the Bachelor fandom was quick to side with the woman. And when Jane Doe went to the Sun and some of her court filings were exposed, Clayton was painted in a very dark light. So, what all went down? Jane Doe met Clayton on May 20th, 2023. He was a new real estate agent, and she had created a real estate LLC just 9 days prior to their meetup. It begs the question, did she seek Clayton out specifically, or was this all happenstance? According to Clayton, she messaged him on LinkedIn wanting to work with him, and he was excited. I mean, he'd just gotten his license 3 weeks prior, and it can be really hard to get clients when you're brand new to the industry. So they began texting and would finally meet up. According to Jane Doe, they were intimate on the night of May 20th and saw houses the next day. But later that day, Clayton would tell her that he wasn't really ready for anything serious because he was still healing from his experience of being the bachelor. He just kind of wanted to keep things casual and professional. So the two decided to do just that, keep their relationship purely professional. They remained in contact as Jane Doe was wanting to make a couple offers on a couple properties. Clayton said that he was really impressed by her. She was smart and articulate and seemed to know a lot about the real estate market. She wanted to jump into a contract right away, but Clayton just didn't feel the need to rush to that until she was officially deciding to submit offers on houses. So, she then did decide to submit two offers on two different homes. He sent over the contracts and she signed them immediately, allegedly without reading them. So this would lock Clayton in as her real estate agent, and he would continue working with her until the deals had closed. According to Clayton, just a few hours later, after signing that contract, basically sight unseen, she texted him stating that she didn't feel comfortable moving forward working with him as her realtor if there was no hope that they would date. She wanted to go out for drinks with him and have him take her out on a date, but he said that he preferred to keep things professional and that he would be happy to take her out for celebratory drinks after they closed the deal, but that he was not willing to call it a date. And look, I get it. It is hard enough to be intimate with someone and then they basically tell you it was a mistake and want nothing to do with you, and you're stuck in this like platonic level with them. It does not feel good. But at the same time, she did have every opportunity to stop working with him and use another realtor. I mean, she was under no obligation to continue working with him during or immediately following the hookup. And absolutely, it is so hard to deal with unrequited attraction, especially when you've already been a little romantic. So I'm sure that maybe a part of her thought that maybe he would change his mind. But if I had been her, I probably would have just tried to cut him off and work with a different realtor. But instead, she signs the contracts, submits the offers, and then threatens to pull out of the contract. And Clayton, he's feeling trapped because this is one of his first deals. It'll make him look bad to his new broker, and his commission would be between $30,000 and $40,000. So she's basically like, if you don't date me, I'm going to pull out of this deal and potentially get you to lose your job. Plus, you'll be losing thousands of dollars. But meanwhile, Clayton is starting to see some red flags and decides that he's just going to try to get out of this deal. He's like, you know what? I'll lose the money. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. But instead, she decides that she's going to submit a complaint about him potentially pulling out the deal. He even tried to hand the deals off to another realtor, but she refused to work with anyone else because she felt uncomfortable doing so. But she still files a complaint, but luckily they did not end up revoking Clayton's real estate license because he had proof that she was basically trying to coerce him into a relationship with him. And look, to be fair, this is not totally one sided. Clayton messed up here too. He should never have gotten involved with a client. You just need to have professional boundaries, and he should have had some in place and not hooked up with a potential client, in my opinion. They both should have maintained a professional relationship. And then after the deal's done, sure, get involved, do whatever you want to do. But while you're in the midst of making $1 million deals, maybe just maintain those professional boundaries. So he does try to cut her off, finally, and even threatened to file a police report if she did not stop contacting him. This all happens in a matter of 5 days. 5 days. So obviously, the real estate report took some time for them to dismiss it, but all of this drama that's ensuing is only during a 5 day period. So just 5 days after they hook up. Like, dang, talk about having a lot of time on your hands. So she decides to drop a bomb. She tells him that she might be pregnant. And this is just 5 days after this encounter, mind you. So Clayton doesn't believe it, but she insists, giving him a ton of reasoning. So he just blocks her. And obviously, this upsets her. I mean, I would be absolutely pissed if a man I thought could be the father of my children just basically ghosts me. So, since he blocked her 11 days after the hookup, she would send him an email claiming that she was pregnant and sent along a picture of a positive pregnancy test. She claimed that she hadn't been intimate with anyone since March of 2023. So obviously, Clayton was the only option as for the father of her child. And he didn't want to have a kid with her. So she suggested that she would take abortion medication, but only if he decided to be in an exclusive relationship with her for 2 weeks. But he was like, no, maybe we just determine paternity and then you can decide what to do. Clayton was super resistant in getting any more involved with her, and even in the Sun article that she would later speak to, you can see the disdain he has for Jane Doe. He did not believe she was pregnant. He did not want to date her. He just wanted her to stop contacting him. So he demanded that she take a pregnancy test with him in person, which she did, and the test was positive. So after this, Clayton was still seeing red flags. Whether they were real red flags or he was just in denial, we'll find out later. There was just no way in his mind that she could be pregnant. And he was going to deny till he died. Was he trying to not take responsibility? Did he still not believe her? Was he trying to dodge being a father? Or was he just overwhelmed with the situation and perhaps creeped out by some of this obsessive behavior that Jane Doe was exhibiting? Well, he decided to take to Google and discovered that there are certain medications that can produce a false positive pregnancy test, and one of them happened to be a medication that Jane Doe had been taking. So he brought this up to her and she dismissed the possibility. And he's like, okay, well, then we're just going to wait until the 8 week mark when we can do a prenatal paternity test. But until then, I want to stop talking. We're going to go no contact. And this pissed her off. I mean, for good reason. I have to just consider being in her shoes. I would be livid. Like, dude, take a little responsibility for the situation that we together are now in. But he blocks her again. So she decides to send him emails every single day. She still wants to date. She says if they date, she'll get an abortion. If they don't, she'll have the kid, which feels just kind of counterproductive in my opinion. Like, wouldn't you want to have the kids with a supportive partner instead of by yourself? I mean, I suppose she could get child support potentially, but do you really want to bring a child into this world with them knowing that their father wants absolutely nothing to do with them? It's just really sad to me. And I'm not really sure what her end game was here besides trying to threaten Clayton into a relationship with her. And look, maybe she was just in over her head. Maybe she got pregnant, freaked out, thought Clayton would be there, and when he decided he wouldn't be, she panicked and just decided to do everything she could to get his support. It's just not coming across as the healthiest decision, in my opinion. In fact, it pushes Clayton away even more. He even goes so far as to call her mother, which I probably would have made a different choice. Like, what did you think was going to happen when you talked to her mom? Like, you'd be like, hey, your daughter says she's pregnant with my child. I don't think I am, but she's trying to force me into a relationship. And you really ought to know. Like, did you think her mom would be like, well, that's so odd. I guess I'll have a talk with her and convince her to stop talking to you? No, a mom's going to be like, my daughter is my world. I believe her 100%, and you need to step up and be a dad, which is exactly what her mom said to him. So then, Jane Doe sent the email of all emails. She emailed him trying to convince him to date her, and not just date her, be intimate with her. She thought that being intimate with her would convince him that the child was his because she would be so tight after not having sex for a year, and that that should be enough evidence for him to know that the baby had to be his. I swear to God, when I read that, it literally just it blew me away. It blew me away. But also, wouldn't he already know that since y'all had already hooked up? So obviously, Clayton is concerned that she isn't actually pregnant. She just wants to hook up with him again so that they can try to get pregnant. So he's like, no, let's just wait until this 8 week mark. It is in a few weeks. We can get clarity on the situation and really determine whether or not you're even pregnant and if the baby is mine. But she doesn't like this. She wants him to just admit without proof that he's the father to her unborn child. So she starts contacting Clayton's parents and his broker, and she finds out where he's doing his public speaking engagements to try to basically cost him opportunities. So Clayton is getting fed up, and he does say some choice words to her. A lot of their exchanges during this time have been leaked, and they make Clayton look so mean. Like, honestly, he basically flat out tells this woman that he is done with her, he hates her, wants nothing to do with her, he doesn't want kids with her, and if this is fake, he will literally hate her forever. But why would a woman fake a pregnancy? Like, what would she have to gain from coming out publicly with all of this information, which she eventually does? Like, she must be pregnant and she must genuinely believe it's his. She even got lawyers involved to try to get him to take responsibility. I mean, the woman files in family court to try to create a parenting plan with him. She even goes to the press to expose this man because he won't communicate with her. I mean, if I was her, I might consider doing the same thing. Like, dude, take responsibility for your part in this. But also, to be fair, he doesn't have a paternity test. He's been uninvited to every ultrasound so far, and he still doesn't have any tangible proof, according to him, that he is the father. But allegedly, at one of these ultrasounds, she finds out that she is not just pregnant with one baby. No, no. She's now pregnant with twins. Twins. And she's still offering to abort them if he meets up with her. But he's still refusing because he just doesn't know if he is the father. So since he won't take responsibility, she finally decides she's going to the press. She anonymously goes to The Sun in September of 2023, and I'll have that article linked down below just as a reminder. It isn't super detailed, but it does put Clayton on blast for basically being an absent father and treating her with a lot of disdain. And it claims that he's refusing to take a paternity test, which, according to him, is untrue. That he was actually trying to take paternity tests, but she was uninviting him to every opportunity where he could do so. So, obviously, a lot of people were rallying behind this woman. And since Clayton is no stranger to scandal, people instantly believed Jane Doe. I mean, for me, when I first heard this, I was basically like, yep, sounds a lot like Clayton. He's a douchebag, anyways. Doesn't really surprise me. And I admit, I totally thought Clayton was a dick in this scenario. And I thought it was wild that he wouldn't just buck up and take responsibility. And Clayton, too, received a ton of backlash for this. Tons. Then, 4 days after the Sun article came out exposing all of this, Jane Doe took to Reddit and shared links to a Dropbox folder that featured pictures of her looking pregnant and photos of the email exchanges between her and Clayton. And again, Clayton looks like an absolute a-hole. If he's the father of those children, it's only fair that he takes responsibility for the part that he played in it. Well, are you ready for the plot twist of all plot twists? Turns out, according to Clayton, they never had sex. They never had intercourse. They only did oral. Yeah, yeah. So here we're all angry at Clayton for being such a dick to this woman. And what is going on? Like, did she turkey baste herself? Is that even a thing? Apparently, they did one round of oral, hung out for like 5 hours, and then they did another round of oral. And she immediately ran to the bathroom after that second time. So who knows? So obviously, that's why Clayton had been so confused earlier because he was like, there was no penetration. How could you be pregnant? And she apparently was claiming that when they were rubbing up on each other between the first and the second time, she felt something down there, which semen dies after exposure to oxygen after 2 minutes, anyways. So it's like 5 hours after the first time, definitely no chance of getting pregnant. So it's like people were alleging she did something in the bathroom with the semen. I don't know. I can't comprehend completely. And then when you look at some of the court filings, she doesn't actually say they had sex. She says they were intimate. So it's not technically a lie, but it's also just vague enough to not be actual perjury. Sneaky, sneaky. So, this revelation is sweeping through the fandom, but it's not quite enough that people totally turn on Jane Doe. Like, we all still want to believe her. We want to believe women, especially when it's so rare for women to just be believed on their word alone. A lot of women, including this mostly women fan base, wanted to believe her. But then, on September 27th, just 5 days after Jane Doe shared her Dropbox pictures of herself looking pregnant on Reddit, she was seen competing in a horse jumping competition with a flat stomach while complaining to be 20 weeks pregnant with twins. I mean, you just can't make this up. Or can you? Because it seems like Jane Doe did make it up. Because on the very same day that she was in this competition, Clayton received his paternity test results. And you know what it said? Little to no fetal DNA. Little to no fetal DNA, meaning there is little to no proof that the babies exist at all. So suddenly the tables turned, and they turned hard. Like, where is the proof? Jane Doe, just send us real proof that you're pregnant. Well, Jane Doe sent Clayton an ultrasound photo, which, upon further inspection, appeared to have been edited. Now, when Clayton brought this claim up and wanted to call the OBGYN to confirm that it was real, Jane Doe refused. Like, if it's real, you should have absolutely nothing to hide. Why can't you just bring him to the doctor and do the paternity test and do the pregnancy test? She's refusing to see him at this point. So he can't even see her visually with a pregnant stomach. And not only that, Jane Doe leaked her sonogram to the media, or maybe it was in the Reddit post. And when it was compared to a YouTube video of a sonogram from 6 years ago, It looks exactly the same with just some like photoshopping having been done on it. Dave Neal has a video where he actually puts one on top of the other and it looks exactly the same. I'm telling you, this is just such a wild scandal. So at this point, you're probably thinking, how have I not heard about this yet? Because this is super recent and super salacious. I mean, I've been following this from the beginning because I've been subscribed to Dave Neal's YouTube channel because honestly, I got tired of watching The Bachelor, so I've just watched his recaps. But, anyways, literally no other channel or podcast beside Reality Steve's was talking about it because they were scared of this woman. Because she literally sends cease and desists and threatens lawsuits on anyone who speaks out on Clayton's behalf. She even began inundating Dave Neal with emails to the point where he had to get a lawyer himself to filter through them because it was all becoming too much. And she's even filed multiple lawsuits against him at this point. He even had to take some of his videos down because of her threats. And what's even crazier about this, besides the fact that it's just literally shocking that anyone would want to spend their time and risk their reputation doing all of this, because remember, this is all public record, and people are allowed to share their opinions online about things, especially if they're on public record. I mean, her name is out there. She's even gone so far during this whole process to try to change her name because I think she's beginning to realize the impact it's having on her entire reputation because she was flying under the radar for so long. The only reason I'm making this video now is because other huge outlets are starting to finally talk about it, so I feel a little more safe discussing it. In her Anonymous Sun article, she shares so much personal information that it's so easy to identify her. I just don't understand what she thought would happen if she went through all this. Like, I'm completely flabbergasted at what the end goal would be. Because when this first happened and people were starting to just whisper that maybe she was lying, that's what I thought. Why would any woman lie about this? She's going to have to deal with public backlash. She's going to have to spend money in the legal system. Who knows what people are going to call her, what kind of bullying she's going to deal with. Like, all of that would make me not want to fake a pregnancy. I mean, Clayton's obviously not going to date you. You're losing tons of money with all of these frivolous lawsuits. You're also doing this to a public figure. So people are going to be talking about it. And you just think you can keep trying to silence them? I don't understand. I mean, honestly, think of what she'd be capable of if she put all of this destructive effort into another endeavor. She could be wildly successful if she just channeled all of this energy onto another project. Like, isn't she exhausted? I'm exhausted just listening to myself talk about this. Plus, she's not doing well in court. She filed a TPO against Dave Neal that was thrown out in late October, and on November 2nd, she lost a case against Clayton. So, after losing speaking opportunities and reporting that Jane Doe had reported him to the Arizona Real Estate Commission trying to get his license taken away, and after apparently 500 plus messages had been sent to Clayton from her, the judge sided with Clayton and he won his injunction against harassment suit against her. So at this point, it seems that she just isn't obsessed with Clayton. She will do anything in her power to punish him for not being with her. And this is something I try to understand, but I just don't think I ever will be able to understand. If you have to give someone an ultimatum or beg them or coerce them or fake a pregnancy or harass someone into being with you, why would you want to be with them? I wouldn't be able to be happy in a relationship if I knew I had basically tricked someone into being with me, that they're only with me because they're basically afraid of what I'll do to them if they weren't. Like, that's not love. And look, this is still an open court case, but people who have been following this for months have all been screaming, just show proof that you're pregnant. All we need to end this is some actual scientific proof that you're pregnant. If you're telling the truth, you should be able to present that information. But she's offered no tangible evidence to her actually being pregnant. Nothing. Yes, the positive pregnancy tests alerted that she had high levels of HCG, I think is what the hormone is called, in her system, but that could also be altered by the medication she was on. So you just can't help but wonder why. If you're pregnant, just go get the paternity test. Go to the doctor with Clayton. Like, FaceTime him while you're in the doctor's office so he can speak to the doctor. Like, just stop making excuses. Have your doctor testify in court that you are pregnant. But she hasn't done any of that. Yet, if anyone calls her out for allegedly lying about her pregnancy, she threatens them with a lawsuit. I wouldn't be surprised if she tried to take this video down. Honestly, I really wouldn't be. But again, we don't know for sure what's true. Maybe Clayton is the one playing us all for fools, but the evidence, the cold hard evidence, would suggest otherwise. So, anyways, this injunction against harassment hearing happened in early November, and apparently neither Clayton nor Jane Doe knew it was being recorded and I think live streamed. So, even though Jane Doe showed up virtually on Zoom rather than in person, the public saw it all. She was drinking an energy drink and allegedly adjusting her fake baby bump during the hearing. Just if you're gonna lie, do it well, Like maybe don't chug an energy drink while claiming to be pregnant with twins. Like that's a high risk pregnancy. And this is less than a month after the photos of her competing in a horse competition surfaced. Like if you're gonna lie, commit to the lie. You can't have a high risk pregnancy with twins and compete in a dangerous sport and get mad when people call you out for your lie. Honestly, I wish I had the confidence and tenacity of this woman because I have to admit, this is a little impressive. Not that she's falsely accusing a man, but the fact that she is so confident in her lie. I'm not even confident in the truths I tell sometimes. So, anyways, at this point, it's mid November, the holidays are coming up. And who knows if she has a support system of friends and family who see her regularly, or maybe she became concerned that she would be seeing them over the holidays because it's getting to the point where people in her community are starting to see the red flags and hear these rumors. So, does she just stop and give it all up like a reasonable person might? Nope. She doubles down and sends a threatening mass email to producers of every Bachelor Nation podcast, claiming to sue them if they feature this story without also covering her side of the story. She is really trying to keep things hush hush because she's starting to look very unhinged. Over the last month, so between October and mid November, it was revealed that this wasn't even her first time or even second time faking a pregnancy. It was her third time faking a pregnancy, and faking a pregnancy with twins, no less. Back in 2017, her boyfriend attempted to break up with her for the second time after her father begged him to stay with her after his first attempt to leave her. To keep him with her, she allegedly claimed to be pregnant twice. She later on admitted that one pregnancy was fake, but insisted that the other one was real, but she had an abortion. Almost a year later, she filed a DV lawsuit against him and would exploit this experience to further her career by retelling the story in various ways. I am not sure if her claims of DV are true or not, so I am not going to speculate on that. However, I hope for her case that they were false. Similarly to this Clayton situation, in the early summer of 2021, she would go on 3 dates and be intimate with another man who claimed they used two types of birth control when they were intimate. A little over a week later, he told her that he was just no longer interested in seeing her. 11 days after the intercourse, just like Clayton, she sent him a picture of an ultrasound claiming to be pregnant with, you guessed it, twins. But he decided to reverse image Google search the pictures and discovered that she had allegedly sent him a fake picture. In order to keep this man with her, she told him that if he continued to date her, she would abort the twins, and then claimed that she did so by taking prescription abortion pills. I'm guessing this did not seal the deal for her in this relationship, however, because in August of that year, she filed a lawsuit against that man for abortion intimidation. And these proceedings lasted a couple of years and cost this man $150,000. So again, I am asking, what is the end game? Do you just want to ruin these people's lives just because they rejected you? And what I think is one of the most frustrating things about this case to me is if this is all fake, When women make claims of DV and coercion and other violent occurrences, it is so difficult to prove. A lot of women don't get the support they need and they're turned away from the police. They aren't supported by friends and family, or they're victim blamed and shamed for the atrocious things that happen to them. Some women will come forward, take a man to court, won't be able to prove their case, and then they'll get convicted of wrongdoing because they brought a false accusation to the man. And it's just so aggravating that this woman has clearly not provided any true, real, tangible proof besides two very early on pregnancy tests or positive HCG tests, and then can't provide any additional proof. And is going through all of this during a very high risk, allegedly, pregnancy? Because what's going to happen on February 14th when they could actually do a paternity test? And what happened if it found out that Clayton wasn't the father? Like, why go through all of this when it has a time limit? Like, if you are trying to control someone into being in a relationship with you, there's going to be a time limit, because by the time 9 months roll around and you have the kids and they're not his, or you can't prove paternity, or you just don't even have the kids, like, I just don't understand what her thought process was going into this. And if it ends up being that she's telling the truth, I will eat my words. I will apologize. But when I think of all of the actual victims who have desperately tried to get justice for the terrible things that have happened to them or have been done to them, who couldn't afford lawyers, who were forced to stay with their abuser because of lack of resources or lack of other people on their side, and to see a woman who is allegedly making such false claims and taking up time in the court that could be spent helping real victims of DV, of coercion, it truly makes me sick. It is such a selfish and terrible thing to do to a person, to force them to spend hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on fighting your false claims, and also be an example that sexists and bigots turn to when they want to claim that a victim isn't telling the truth. Because this is setting the precedent for all future cases. When a woman comes to a court with true allegations against a person, this case, since it's been a public issue in the court, those lawyers for that actual legitimate DV situation are going to point to this case and say, women don't tell the truth. It's setting a precedent. And it's just so incredibly harmful and shameful. And yes, I'm sure it points to something deeper going on within Jane Doe, something that I'm not even going to pretend I understand or could even speculate on what a diagnosis could be. That's not my place. But no matter what, it does not justify or excuse behavior like this. I truly hope that she gets the help that she needs, because at the end of the day, it is no one else's fault but hers that her reputation is being ruined. At some point, she is going to have to take some kind of accountability, or I fear that she is just going to continue this cycle over and over and over again. So let's get back to what's going on with Clayton right now. In early December of 2023, a third paternity test came back, and the result was, yet again, little to no fetal DNA. Jane Doe then, just a day later, had the audacity to write a Medium article to share the difficulties she's been facing due to being cyberbullied. In the article, she claimed to still be pregnant with Clayton's children and named Dave Neal as one of the reasons she's being cyberbullied because of his videos that call her out for her lives, when he has never said her name, and he's actually tried to tell people to not go seek her out, to not look up her name. Interestingly enough, she has since removed his name from the article, allegedly to stop people from finding his content and discovering the truth, or what we are currently believing to be the truth. And again, cyberbullying is a real dangerous thing. And to lie about something like this when you're the reason people are talking about you because you are the real bully is absolutely infuriating. On December 12th of 2023, Clayton's lawyer filed a motion to prove non-paternity and also demanded proof of pregnancy to be provided to the courts. Now, This is where things get really juicy. And again, Dave Neal goes into much more detail on his channel, so I highly recommend checking it out yet again. But just before the new year, Jane Doe's lawyer made a new court filing to claim that, dun da da da, she is no longer pregnant. She just wants everything to get pushed away. She concedes in a way. But this begs the question, what happened to her children? She was what? More than 7 months pregnant at this point. She was due romantically on February 14th, 2024. Now, I speculate that since she has changed lawyers multiple times, and this year, just in the last couple weeks, 2024, this case has finally been getting a little more exposure and coverage. So maybe her newest lawyer was able to scare her a little bit. Maybe the lawyer knew where this was going, knew that Clayton was building a strong case against her. I mean, he'd even hired her ex's attorney who had worked on the other fake twin pregnancy case. So, I mean, at this point, she has a very concerning pattern of behavior that could be established in court and could be considered a vexatious litigant, which basically means that someone is going through legal proceedings with, quote, malice and without good cause, unquote. So she's also potentially committed perjury because she testified in court that she was currently pregnant when she may not have been. And she could be forced to pay all of Clayton's legal fees. If she was found guilty of perjury, she could also face a sentence of up to 10 years in prison. So, I speculate that claiming she's no longer pregnant and not providing a reason for how it came to be that she is no longer pregnant, she was hoping that this would be enough for Clayton's team to just be like, well, great, let's just end all this. But instead, this case is ongoing and new updates are coming out every single day. This case has been fascinating me for months now. And again, Dave Neal does a great job on keeping things up to date. And he basically makes a video every time he receives an update on this case. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens as we move forward. And like all the reasons I said before, this is so incredibly frustrating because it's setting a precedent, a very poor precedent for women who are actual victims to come forward. I mean, women are already scared. It's already difficult to get people to believe women at face value. And it's also so difficult to prove certain abuses. So when we have someone who is setting a precedent that can harm future cases and harm future DV victims and keep women from coming forward, it is upsetting. It is frustrating. I really hope for the best case scenario because from where I sit, it seems, I'm not saying definitively, but it seems like this woman has been lying for a long time. It seems like she's perjured herself. And it seems like Clayton is the one who needs justice in this situation. That's just from my opinion. That's just what I see from the outside looking in as someone who is so far removed from the situation. But I'm so curious to know about what you guys think. Do you guys believe Clayton or Jane Doe? Do you believe that this case can set a dangerous precedent for future victims? And I've shared some resources in previous videos, but I'll go ahead and share some resources down below if you are in a dangerous situation. Just some links and phone numbers to websites that you can reach out to for help because it is truly so heartbreaking to think that there are people who are being coerced into situations that they don't want to be in, that are being abused, that are being harmed, that are being trapped. And when we have false accusations coming out, going through the court system, it simply sets a bad precedent, in my opinion. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know if you want an update on this case, if and when we get one. Who knows if everything will get swept under the rug, but this is what we know now. Um, and again, if I'm totally off base, and it comes out that Jane Doe has been telling the truth, I will make an update video. I will sing a different tune. So I just want to see some proof because I am inclined to believe women first. I am inclined to believe women first. So this is really frustrating to see that now all of this could be faked. It's deeply frustrating and very, very upsetting. So, anyways, again, I'd love to know what you think. Let me know if you'd like an update. Share whatever your opinions are down below. And I really appreciate you for tuning in today. Thank you all so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.